one of the really important legacies of Peter Cullen is getting the whole issue of environmental flows up there, not just onto the public agenda and the policy agenda, but establishing the environment as a user of water in its own right. That's where he made, I think, a really important contribution, and that's something that Australia has led the world in, and of which we should be very proud.
He often talked about the greatest legacy you can leave is people who are capable and passionate, and the board eventually came to the conclusion that they'd like to trial a leadership program that was built around Peter and his legacy and involved developing the skills that made him so successful, both as a human being and as an influential leader in the water space. Leadership's a really lonely business, so you actually have to be quite courageous to take a stand.
Jada boro nyigana ngajuna nila walan polina ngayo imaro araman and ngamada jara nyigana nganga. So welcome to Nyigana country. My name is Dr. Anne Polina, and I'm a traditional custodian from the Fitzroy River. I have a due diligence and a duty of care to protect this river of life.
I started out here as a graduate fresh out of university, and after working for about 5 years as an engineer, I got my first job as a manager. I've been building quite a good career. But much of it was on autopilot and probably progressing through the standard progression that a lot of people go through.
Here in Brisbane, and indeed across Queensland, stormwater management is quite focused on stormwater quantity to convey it as quickly as possible to an outlet, so to provide flooding immunity to residents, which is really important. And it was about 5 years ago when we had the opportunity to work on a project to come up with a new way of thinking in this policy space. It takes quite a lot of courage to ask people to change, and evidence is not always enough. It isn't, in fact, enough.
Peter, over his career, mentored a significant number of people formally and informally. And he was always interested in how do you develop people's skills to be able to be the best that they can be, and not just their science, but the way they communicate that.
One of the great things that Peter Cullen was able to do is to take these complex problems that we create as human beings and find ways to work with diverse people.
The reason that I had for wanting to participate in the program was that I felt not quite equipped to do the difficult work that I could see in front of me. This work in science to policy is very difficult.
The program was really amazing. A group of about 15 women for the Women in Water Leadership Program, and there was a really strong sense of supporting each other through each of our different learning journeys.
Part of the training for scientists generates people that are quite independent. And what I learned through some of the experiences in the Science to Policy program was that I needed to learn how to lean on other people.
Peter Cullen was an amazing keeper of the rivers. He was a person who could take complex problems around river management and be able to convert that into very easy language to particularly convince politicians of the need to invest in protecting our amazing rivers that we have in this country.
I've got all these little facets of my life, my technical experience, my leadership skills and my passion for helping others. But the program helped me realise how I could draw that all together, and to do that through water and sanitation development projects.
So when I had word that our Living Waterways framework would be adopted into policy, it was a combination of relief and real excitement, because I really believe in this piece of work.
Many Aboriginal leaders from along the river were talking about what do we need to do to make a stand for the river. Importantly, what we talked about was to have cultural values and environmental values be the cornerstone of how we were to develop a declaration that would then become a framework for water governance.
Having done the program now, I'm a Peter Cullen Trust Fellow, and The women that I worked with during that course, I hope will be people that I'll stay in touch with for the rest of my life. I feel that we developed some really deep and trusting relationships.
Fundamentally, Peter really liked people. He understood that people had different values, and it's those values that drive us, and he was inquisitive and wanted to understand things from different people's perspective.
The ultimate expression of that legacy is the network of professionals, not all of them young, who are making a difference in the water sector in Australia.
It's about really enabling people to see the truth, speak the truth, and be their most authentic selves in what they're doing now and in planning what they want to do into the future.
This particular program, it does something that no other program does, which is to immerse you in coming to grips with yourself. And that's crucial because it's one of the only things you can actually control really well, is how you respond in an environment when you're trying to influence change.